So today we're taking a look at Tadabase. Now, Tadabase promises a lot, and I've spent about 24 hours with it, and I'm going to share with you all my thoughts. There's some good things, there's some bad things. Let's take a look. Now, if you're new here, hi, my name is Alex, and here on this channel, we talk about anything and everything low-code, databases, automations, AI, the whole thing. So without any further ado, let's get stuck in. Like we typically do, let's get started with the UX UI of the whole platform. Now, contrary to how we usually do this, I'm going to start with a website because there's some weird stuff going on. For instance, the first thing that you see is like the first few words that they tell you are finally a central source of truth. Build custom portals to manage your business. Save thousands of dollars, hours, and coffees with a no-code database that will help your business scale stress-free. No coding or geekiness necessary ever. Then hello option C, and they kind of give you, spending hours with a developer, taking on a second mortgage, buying a no-code like #fail. Tadabase, the intuitive database platform that promises no code, no limits. And then there is a testimonial, and generally speaking, if you read through this text, you'll see like there is this us versus them. Like the business owner is finally found this clever solution to like stick it to the developer man. And that, sparked my interest to see why such an us versus them mentality. So let's go and sign in. All right, so now that we've logged in, let's take a look at the initial sort of impressions. So as soon as you log in, you basically have your leftmost panel. This kind of stays with you even when you're working on an app. The whole look and feel kind of reminds me of like Envato templates, and I've pulled up some over here. They kind of look the samey, and I don't know what it is. It's probably like the buttons. I'm not really sure what it is, but I feel like I've seen this style of UI before, many years before. So yeah, other than that, let's jump in and let me take you through some of the things that I've found so far in terms of UX UI. Now, another interesting thing to point out is that as soon as you're signing in, like for the first time, they will ask you this like massive questionnaire. And again, inside of those questions, and I can maybe put up some screenshots now, you'll see that the questions are somewhat, again, us versus them. I don't want to work with a developer and that sort of thing. So, I'm feeling a little bit weird about why they're taking such an approach, especially since, as you'll see, they're not exactly delivering on that promise. So let's take a look at some of the elements here within the app builder. We've got this sort of navigation on the left-hand side. We can choose to create a new data table. Since I'm a sucker for databases, this is kind of the look and feel of how you manage that database, and I've already created some tables and we're going to go over that. You can kind of collapse all of that stuff, but then this is kind of very close to the intercom button, but you kind of see what I mean. There is a page builder. We'll go over all of this stuff and I'll share my thoughts with you on all of this, but the UI looks okay, but there is a dated element to it. I don't know. I think it's the buttons. It must be the buttons. Now, building a database on Tadabase is actually fairly quick. It feels quite nimble, and yeah, I don't really find anything wrong with it. But I feel like the problems start when you start to work with fields. Let me show you what I mean. Now, I've already created some tables here, but let's create just one more for the fun of it. I'm just gonna start from scratch. Let's call this suppliers, and let's now create a new supplier. Let's add a new field. Let's call this credit limit. And I want you to notice that I have to first choose the type of field, and look at how bad the UI is here. Look how small this is. And right now I'm not zooming out or zooming in. It's just normal, and I have a small 27-inch screen. It feels kind of janky to do this, but let's just say number, and let's call this credit limit. save. So now if I want to edit this field, I have to double click it. I wish I could edit it while I'm creating it. And especially with things like formulas, for instance, I want to be able to write my formula right there and then. We're going to get into the field review of things, but generally speaking, in terms of UX UI, this is so-so. And the thing is, you're changing screens. Like, I am right now focused on this field and nothing else. You could easily turn this page into a pop-up or something like that, or just make it a little bit smaller. Why do I have to have such huge amounts of white space everywhere? Like, how long is your field name really going to be? Do you need 200 pixels worth of space just to put decimal points? Not really. So yeah, it's a little bit hit and miss. There are other things that I dislike. For instance, let's say I want to link a product to a supplier. So I have my list of products here, and I'm just going to add a new supplier, or I'm going to try and link it. So typically, because I'm used to the jargon of link, that is an actual like HTTP link. There's no symbol next to it. There's no like little icon indicating as to what this is. Is this link to another record? Is this what is this? So again, like, they're missing easy things in terms of UX UI, which they compound. If you're a brand new user, forget me, I roughly know what I'm doing, but a new user, you know, these things build up, and you'll see how it all builds up. So now if I want to link it back to my suppliers, I need to create a connection, and I need to call this supplier or supplier, and I need to link it to suppliers and press save. Now you can't link it. Like, right now you can't do anything. You either have to refresh your page or press this little, you know, sorting thing. Now you see how it kind of went back, and now I can actually link it. So I have to open up the field, and I don't even see my list of suppliers. I have to know which supplier it is. So let's say I do know supplier 1. Why does it not find it? Did I call it something else? Oh, I know why. You know why? Because right here, the display field is based on the supplier name, or rather not. It's based on the auto increment field within that table. We have to use supplier name so that it actually gives us the right supplier. And now if I try it, I should be able to find the supplier. There we go. Now it finds it. So this is dumb. This is bad. Then let's say I want to actually add a new supplier. Let's say I want to add supplier 2. No results found. So what I need to do as a user, I need to go to my suppliers, add a new supplier, call him supplier 2, save that record. You can't add it like Excel style, which is another big problem. Like, come on, this is 2024. Should be able to treat databases almost like spreadsheets, especially if this is low code or tries to be low code. So yeah, I have to add it as a whole new record. Then if I jump into products, now I can choose a different supplier, supplier 2. Now that we've talked a little bit about how to create databases, let's discuss how the process looks like when you want to create some views, how you, like, let's say you want to display that data in some other shape and form. If you're coming from Airtable or any other sort of low-code database builder, close your eyes. This is not for us. This is a very different sort of animal, at least it feels to me. Now, let's briefly take a look at what we're dealing with. So let's jump into Page Builder, and immediately, I mean, I've created a brand new page here. Let's try and create a new page for our suppliers. But all I'm going to say is that as a developer, generally speaking, for this process, I'm impressed because there's so much complexity available on tap. But if I was just starting out, this would be scary AF. It's not straightforward. Like, I have to make decisions left, right, and center. Press save. And the thing is, I don't even know what decisions I'm taking here. I'm just guessing that the choices I'm making are the correct ones and they are retractable, like I can go back and change my mind. But generally speaking, this is kind of like how you create a new page. You couldn't really display this in any other way, but if you actually want to edit this page and add other components, you have plenty of components. So instead of basically creating a view of said data, you're creating pages. And it's, drag and drop sort of style. You can choose the data that you want to display. You can do just quick ads. I must admit, this is very reminiscent of how Document works, the thing that we use to create PDFs. It's complicated. Like, you have to have a decent amount of an idea of what you want to see, but the flip side is that there is plenty of complexity on tap. You can edit the CSS of stuff, you can add JavaScript, you can play with security settings. I'm really not going to go into this because it feels complicated and clunky. It is what it is. I'm not a huge fan from a perspective of a basic user, but from a developer, I feel like there is potential there to do quite a lot of things. But I want to remind you, what they're trying to sell you here is that you don't have to deal with a developer. If this was me, I would hire a developer immediately to deal with this. Okay, let's talk about fields. Now, I'm always looking for some exciting new fields, some new thing within a low-code database app builder. And there is one interesting one that I don't think I've seen before, and this is the ability to add signatures. So I might be wrong here, maybe I've missed something, but usually this field is not there. And it's actually kind of exciting, but again, it's just weird the way that it works. So I've added this signature field in here into my orders table. And let's say I want to change it or I want to update it. So I press change. Then let's say I want to write something. So you instinctively want to click in and draw, right? Wrong. That's not how you do it. And then the cheekiest thing is that you can update it as well. So you can't draw, but yet you can save this blank thing that you've just done. So the way to edit a signature, at least within the database, is to edit the record. You have to go away from what you were doing. You have to focus on a single record. Here, if I press change, now I can draw stuff. And then I can press save, and then I will see my signature in all of its glory. If I press change again, I can't draw. Now, let's talk a little bit about some of their other more basic fields that most people want to know about, and I'll just begin with some fun stuff. So, you know how we have a checkbox field in pretty much any self-respecting database builder, low-code database builder? Not so much the case here. The checkbox is not the checkbox. The decision box is what you're looking for, actually, because the decision box is this checkbox, right? Which is basically a Boolean, right? You have a true or false value. So if I uncheck it, it will be off. But the interesting thing is that the checkbox is actually a multi-select thing. And the multi-select field is actually a multi-select field from the 80s, where you can press control and you can multi-select choices. Dude, come on, give me a break. Let's talk about formulas. And in one of our previous videos, we took a look at, I think, NoCodeDB or Base Rope. I think it was Base Rope, who had just this amazing formula builder that, I was honestly impressed. Let's take a look how formulas work in Tadabase. So let's add a new field, formula, and immediately I have to make a decision. Is it a number formula? Is it a date formula? Is it a text formula? Hold on, but I need to manipulate my data all within one formula, right? Sometimes I might be working with a date that I want to turn into text that maybe then I want to count the amount of digits in there. So formulas have to be combinable. But now I have to make a decision on this. So anyway, let's put that aside, sweep it under the carpet, and choose text formula. So text formula, very straightforward. Let's just save it and see what this looks like. Again, I have to double click it in order to edit that formula. Why can't I just write the formula in there? Anyway, so now let's say I want to put the order name and then a dash and then something else and then maybe the checkbox. The way to do that is you add one field, then you add a something like a dash or who knows what. You press add here, that adds it to the formula, and then you have to add an extra thing. And if you press save, then that gives you the formula. Okay, maybe for a beginner this is okay-ish. Maybe beginners don't need much. But the problem starts when a beginner gives up. And if a beginner gives up, he calls a developer for help. He calls an expert to help. For me, as an expert brought into a project like this, it would be very frustrating because I would have to be in workaround city to just achieve basic things that we can achieve in pretty much any other low-code database / app builder out there. It's so-so. I'm not a huge fan of how their formula stuff works. They also have other fields that can kind of work for this in terms of like formula style fields like, where are they? We have count, maximum, average, sum, rollups. I mean, I've checked out rollups, they're okay. But again, you kind of like have to jump into the whole field to edit it. Yeah, it's not amazing. But yeah, you see where I'm. Okay, so let's talk about special features. What makes Tadabase special? Is there some kind of AI thing going on? Is there an automation platform that's built in, and which kind of means that we don't have to rely on Zapier too much or make.com? Yeah, we do actually have some cool new features. So, for instance, we have Page Builder, which, as we saw, builds pages. There's plenty of cool things to do here, but we also have a dedicated automations platform that allows you to schedule tasks or trigger automated workflows at custom times or on demand. Sometimes like sending automated emails, like auto-updating or creating records. This is really, really cool. There's webhooks. Yeah, this is very good that they've done that. Now we also have a dedicated PDF builder. I mean, I haven't taken a massive look at this, but that is probably very reminiscent to how their page builder works. Not a huge fan, but at least it's there. Maybe it's a little bit janky, maybe it's not, but it's nice to know that they have something that is there. I want to talk about pipes, and pipes are kind of like these interesting, I don't even know how to call them. Are they plugins? Are they extra features? I'm not even sure anymore. But the most important thing to take out of this is, I mean, you can do some like advanced math validation. You can do date utilities, over 50 unique date functions to calculate date specific. Hold on. Why is this not all pre-baked inside of my formulas? Why do I have to like install some kind of thing from your pipes marketplace? I just don't understand why it's here, like some of these functions. I get that there are like integrations with QuickBooks or with Stripe or Airtable, Shopify, you name it. There's actually quite a few integrations. And I feel like because they've existed for, I think, 2016, they've had the time to bring in a lot of these integrations in and test them and work them. I haven't tested any of them, but why some of these things are just not inside of the basic functions of Tadabase? Again, it just leaves me impressed as a developer that a lot of these things are already in there. But as a beginner, I feel like this could be a little bit confusing. Now, time for some conclusions. So my honest opinion is that Tadabase is built on old rails. They haven't really done, I feel, at least based on looking at this, like a version 2 or like a complete redesign of what they're doing. Like a major overhaul, I feel, is needed in order for this to become the definitive low-code platform of the 2020s. As a developer, I'm actually very happy, but also kind of concerned when it comes to Tadabase. I'm really glad that, there is so much depth of things that you can do, But at the same time, I'm a little bit worried because they are aggressively marketing that they are this sort of savior and this, stick it to the developer man kind of platform. So I feel like there's some holes in some basic UX UI functionality. I would much rather have a platform that does one thing great than 10 things, half-baked features. So essentially, I'm rooting for Tadabase because I feel like they have been well established and they have a fan base of existing users who would welcome some of these changes. Especially new clients would definitely benefit from a refresh of the UI, make database editing much better. There is so many people who are trying to steal market share from Airtable. It's unreal. Get in the game, you've got a lot of knowledge. Yeah, so generally speaking, make edits to the UX UI, make your database building easier, page builder, major overhaul. It's difficult for me to even navigate it. And yeah, I think when that happens, it will be a fantastic platform because it has all the right ingredients, but the execution is somewhat stuck in the past. That's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed this one. If you agree with me, and again, this was just my opinions about Tadabase, really honest opinions, let me know down in the comments what you thought of Tadabase. Do you like it? Do you hate it? What do you think? I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.